doing the same thing and not getting what we really truly need.
Wow. And
Yeah.
that is so true. And I noticed another reason that it's hard for people to let go is because they're hoping for change. Like sometimes we can see potential,
Yeah.
especially when we had some good moments or some good times, we can see potential. But just because there's potential doesn't always mean they're going to reach that potential or that they're even going to try to.
That's
And
right.
then we convince ourselves that if we just love a little harder, if we give a little more, if we wait longer, that things are going to get better, or maybe they're going to change. So then we hang on to the hope for the change that doesn't happen. And it
Yeah.
breaks us in the process. And then the longer you stay in that relationship, the harder it is to walk away. Like we don't
Yeah.
want to feel like we wasted our time or our energy or years of effort. Like we were talking a minute ago, like I put too much into this to walk away. They took my good years, especially as women, we'll say that quick. They took my good years. And if we don't believe that we deserve better, then we're more likely to settle for less. And toxic relationships have a way of chipping away at your self-esteem, which makes it harder to recognize your worth. Because sometimes people believe that lie that maybe this is the best that I'm going to get. And then it leads to the fear of starting over.
Yes.
Leaving, means facing the unknown, rebuilding emotionally, financially, and socially. And so that uncertainty can keep people stuck. I don't even know where to begin if I leave. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know how I'm going to make it if I leave. And so a lot of people stay stuck.
Mm, yes. A lot of people stay stuck in the same situation and the fear of the unknown.
Mm,
That is very challenging because
come on.
you would rather know what you're up against and be able to weather it versus not knowing and having to trust that, hey, God's got me through this. Whatever I'm dealing with, I'm gonna move past this. But when I don't have that steady grounding of trust, and I'm out here on a limb, it does not feel good. So I'd rather stay where I'm at than to move, you know. But we have to understand that being challenged does not mean that we can't move. We can't go
Mm,
forward.
come on.
We got to go past whatever we're feeling
Come on.
and trust the uncertainty. Yes, that's normal. That's a normal reaction to be uncertain.
Mhm.
That is a normal reaction. But the positive part is that I can gain trust, that I can move on.
Yes, and we're gonna get to how they can get through these chords later on. But I want to kind of deal with some of the reasons too right now why people have a hard time letting go, and so we've come up with some really good ones, and one that I think that a lot of people have a hard time letting go is fear of loneliness. Being alone, because sometimes the thought of being alone is scarier than the pain of staying.
Yes.
People sometimes believe that it's better to have somebody, even if it's toxic, than to be by themselves. I'd rather have somebody than have nobody.
Mm,
So,
yes.
so what are your thoughts on that?
I'd rather that. Yeah, that's been a thought pattern that needs to break. I'd rather stay with it, and I'd rather be be in a comfortable position with it, and that there lets me know that I have to use my own intellect. If it's hurting me, why would I continue to be comfortable with it?
Hmm, okay. Yeah. Well, and you know what? That's good because some people stay out of guilt and
They stay
obligation.
out of guilt,
They
obligation.
stay out of guilt and obligation. They stay out of a sense of duty to the situation, especially like in codependent situations, like well, they need me or I can't just walk away. So when you stay in relationships out of duty or obligation, just because you feel like you should, then what happens is you silence your own needs, you silence your own values and your own desires, and you start shrinking emotionally just to
Mm.
maintain that connection. And over time, this causes you to feel resentful. Sometimes it causes bitterness because you're constantly giving without being replenished.
Yeah.
And sacrifice without alignment becomes self betrayal. And I'm gonna say that again because that was good. Self sacrifice without alignment becomes self betrayal. So
Self betrayal.
yes, you basically abandon you, and then you start performing instead of being. You start acting the part and doing and saying what's expected and not what's authentic to you, because you stop showing up as you and you start living as a version that other people expect you to live at. And so, but true love, even though it can be hard, it never feels like bondage. It's
There you
it's
go. There
fueled
you
by it's fueled by willingness and not weariness.
there
We
you
think if I let go, they're gonna fall apart, or if I stop showing up, then they'll think I'm selfish. But listen, rescuing somebody at the cost of your own mental health is not love. And God didn't call you to be their savior; He called you to be their support.
there you go. There you go. That is so true. We have to realize that God is our source and He helps us. Even when we can't see past it, God can see past it. He gives us the strength that we need. And we rather just not stay with it and just we got to learn to move past it and let God take us through the process. The process is not good. It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna even challenge us. But when we go through the process, we will be better off knowing that we can survive it. That's with family. That's with friends. This covers toxic relationship. It covers all this chords. It covers jobs, and job relationships, coworkers. It covers family, friends. It covers so many areas, and so we need to recognize those signs of when it's toxic and when it's time to let it go. And
All right.
and we love our family. We love our family. I'm just giving an example. We love our family, but if it's causing us so much harm and it's causing us so much, we need to have that talk. A lot of times we don't want to have that talk. We rather move past it, and then it's steady causing problems. We need to sit down and have a talk. Let's work this out together. If it's a co-working relationship, let's work this out, because this is toxic. It's not serving me any purpose. We walking by each other every day. I'm being transparent, but we need to fix that relationship. And if it's not fixable, then we need to know when to back away and say, hey, this is not good for me. This is not helping me. I need
Right.
to do something different.
Right. Because sometimes we stay in these relationships for the fear of judgment, basically the fear of what other people gonna say.
What people
So
gonna say?
we'll stay because of what friends may say, or church members may say, or family
Hmm.
members may say. And the fear of what they'll say keeps so many people from making decisions that are best for their well-being. Like, what are they going to think of me, if I walk away? What are they going to think of me if I do this? But I want to drop a bomb on somebody this morning and let you know that staying in a toxic relationship doesn't make you loyal. It makes you unavailable to yourself.
There you go.
Choosing peace over pain isn't a weakness. It's
That's right.
wisdom.
That's
Let,
wisdom.
letting go hurts. Even if the thing was toxic, it still became part of your identity. And so,
Yeah.
even though when the letting go hurts, there's a grieving process in walking away or cutting the cord. As we said, this is not just with people. Sometimes this is with yourself. but there's grief in walking away. Grief over what was, grief over what we hoped it would be and what it will never become. And you've got to allow yourself to grieve the loss and keep moving forward in the midst of that. So now I want to shift gears now that we have identified some cords that need to be cut. Let's talk about how to cut those cords. You've hinted here and there on some things, but I really want to get deeper into this. Let's talk about how we actually cut the cords. How do we start to cut the cords? Give us an example of how we can start to cut the cord.
All right. Acknowledge what's draining you.
Good. That's good.
Acknowledge what's draining you.
Good.
You have to admit it and come to yourself and say, I need to acknowledge that this is taking me down.
Right. Right.
I've got to first recognize it, then acknowledge it and say, I can't serve what I won't claim.
Ooh, you can't heal what you're still trying to justify.
There you go.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I can't serve it what I won't claim it. When I can't claim it. I've got to claim that first and acknowledge it and say, hey, it's here. This is taking me down.
Wow.
You can't. Some people would, go ahead. Some people would rather they would rather keep going.
Right.
And look over it instead of stopping and saying, this is taking me.
Right.
It's sucking my energy, it's draining me, it's taking my strength. And I've got to serve this, but first I got to claim it.
Right. You can't heal what you're still trying to justify. If you're still trying to justify your reason for holding on to it, then you are holding up and delaying your healing. Once you recognize that this is draining me, this is a cord that needs to be cut. Now you can sit down and you can ask yourself these questions like, why do I keep tolerating this behavior? What is this that keeps stealing my peace? What old responsibilities or roles or people or thoughts am I still entertaining out of just pure habit? Because some of these things is just out of pure habit, out of this is the way it's been done. This is what I've been doing. So this is the way that I know to do. So I'm going to keep doing it. Sometimes people are in denial. Oh, it's going to get better. Oh, they're going to change. And here it is. 5-10 years later, they still doing the same thing.
Same thing.
Same space. You found yourself in the same cycle, or even you yourself, is still doing the same thing, still in the same cycle, not getting anywhere and not growing. And you got to recognize it. Being in denial is not going to change it. Even like I said earlier, potential, looking at the potential, that's not going to change it, because sometimes we never even reach the potential or even try to reach it. So that's good. Thank you. So you got to recognize and name it. That's the first thing. And then I want to say, you got to release the need for closure. Oh my gosh. I just wish somebody would put that in the comments. Release the need for closure. Like so many people, they stay stuck because they're waiting for the other person to say I'm sorry, or they're waiting for the other person to acknowledge that they hurt them, or to give them an explanation as to why they did what they did. But truthfully, some people can't give you what you deserve, and you holding out for that keeps you bound, because the closure doesn't have to come from them. The closure comes from you. Ooh, you get to decide. This chapter ends with me. You get to determine this chapter ends with me. Oh my goodness, I feel that. Drop that in the comments. This chapter ends with me. I don't need your validation to start fresh. And so many people, especially women, feel like they can't move on until they get closure, because we want resolution. And as human beings, we don't like unfinished stories. We want the why. We want the apology. We want the conversation that makes everything make sense. But a lot of the times, The people who hurt you, they don't have the capacity or they don't have the character to give you that. And even
Mm,
if they did, their explanation still might not even bring you peace, because
yeah,
peace doesn't come from their words, it comes from your release.
there
Oh
you
my
go.
gosh, that was
There you
good.
go.
Peace
Yeah,
doesn't come from their words, it comes from your release. And so when
right.
we chase closure from other people, we keep them in control of our healing. Woo!
There you
When
go.
we chase closure from other people, then we let them have control of our healing. But
Yes,
when we create closure within ourselves, then we take our power back.
there you go. That's how we take that power back. We say we've got it from here. We can't be
Yeah.
held back by that.
Mhm.
We've got to take control of that.
Right.
And closure basically is I need answers.
Yeah.
I need final answers so I can feel better about it. But what if I don't get those final answers?
Most of the time you won't.
And there you go. And sometimes we would chase down to get those answers that they're not willing to give us. So
Mhm.
that's how we've got to take that power to say, I may not get the answers I need, but I'm gonna move on.
Come on.
I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be stronger, and I'm gonna handle my own. And whether I get that closure or not, it's time for me to just press forward. I can't
Right.
stay right there because I may never get that answer that I'm looking for. And a lot,
Right.
like you say earlier, a lot of times, some people they don't want to give you the answer. They're not
Mhm.
trying to give you the answer, and you'll search all over for it, and you need that closure, but you have to understand that you will. There'll be times you may never get that answer, and
Mhm.
then people, also they want accountability.
Mhm. Mm. Wow.
Hope, as you said, that people would admit what they've done, but what if they never admit it?
They're not most of the time. And you have to accept that you may never understand why. But I may never understand why, but I'm choosing to no longer stay in that pain.
Stay with it. I'm choosing no longer to be stuck with not getting the answer
Yes. Because it's not about getting the ending that you want. It's about creating the freedom that you
that
need.
you need. There you go. There you
Yes.
go.
And another thing that we can do to cut these cords is sometimes we got to create distance. This might be unfollowing somebody, blocking somebody, being intentional about going into certain spaces, limiting the energy that you give them in conversation. Because, I always say this, this is one of my sayings. Sometimes you got to give people limited exposure to you
To you.
because they're constantly draining you. And sometimes you have to be misunderstood in this process because people are not going to understand why you are being intentional about where you're going. When you go places, if the energy not good and you remove yourself, sometimes people will misunderstand that and think that you acting funny. But no, I'm not acting funny. I'm acting free.
There
I, I,
you
I
go.
I'm choosing peace. Peace is louder than any explanation that I can give. And so to feel this, you gotta, and then after you create some distance, you need to feel that space that you create. Don't just cut the cord. Replace that
Replace it.
toxicity with something positive. Replace the toxic relationship with some positive people or positive relationships that pour into you. Replace those lies and limiting beliefs with truth, with God's word. Replace old roles and responsibilities with new rhythms, rest and purpose and joy. Because one thing that I've discovered is we got to stop letting broken people borrow our peace.
Mm,
You
mm.
have the right to protect your spirit. I'm gonna say that again. Somebody needs to drop that in the comments.
Right below.
We have got to stop letting broken people borrow our peace. because you have a right to protect your spirit, not just protect it, but protect it unapologetically.
There you
Come
go.
on, come on, come on,
There
Copeland.
you go.
Let's talk about that.
Yes. You have to be unapologetically about your power, your peace, your healing, your purpose.
Mm,
Don't apologize for that.
mm,
Move forward, stand in that,
mm.
acknowledge it, and say, hey, here's the truth. I'm going to be me, and I am going to do what I need to do, because at the end of the day, this is my peace and this is my happiness.
Mm.
And a lot of times people don't understand your happiness is not in other people. Your happiness should not be in other things. Your happiness starts within you. You've got to have that settled peace on the inside that says, you know, I'm good whether it's bad. I'm good whether it's a struggle. I'm okay. And I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna choose to be free. You wrote a book. You wrote a book. I remember that. Free Indeed.
Yes. Free
I
indeed.
remember that. And you wrote that book when that was either your second or third book, Free Indeed.
Mhm.
And that's explained a lot about how to be free
Yes.
and be happy and have peace.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, we all want peace. We all want to be happy.
We should.
Okay, there you go. Should. We should. There you go.
Some people thrive in chaos. Some people
do thrive in chaos. They like chaos.
Yeah. Peace and quiet for some people is so abnormal to them. When you have been used to functioning in chaos, chaotic situations, and there's always drama surrounding you, sometimes you can become acclimated to that.
Yeah.
And it becomes normal. So your dysfunction becomes normal to you. So when things are quiet, when things are good, when there's no drama going on, someone who has become acclimated to that and made that their normal, they can't stand it. So they're going to create chaos where there doesn't even have to be any.
And that's important in where we set boundaries.
Yes.
We need to set boundaries.
Ooh,
because boundaries are good for both of us. If I keep allowing you in this space and it's toxic, it's not helping me. And it's not beneficial to my needs. It's not beneficial to who I am as a person and what I feel and what I believe. So I need boundaries.
Right. And it's not beneficial to the other person.
It's not beneficial to the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the same time, they feel they're not getting what they need as well. It's not beneficial to either party. But at the same time, I need to create the boundaries when the boundaries are not created by them.
Yes. And what they don't realize, you setting the boundaries, like you said, is beneficial for both of you. And when they don't respect the boundaries, it's not beneficial to them because they're continuing in toxic behavior.
Yes.
So when you set those boundaries and you set healthy boundaries, and I did a podcast episode a couple of weeks ago about protecting your peace versus building walls. And a lot of times people want to say that, you know, it's when you set boundaries, you're building walls. No, I'm protecting.
No, you're not building walls. You're protecting your peace.
Protecting my peace. Because if I keep letting you cross my boundaries, there's not going to be a relationship at the end of the day. So me setting boundaries is not me keeping you out. Me setting boundaries is not meant to cut you off. Me setting boundaries is preserving the relationship.
Preserving the relationship.
If I don't put those boundaries there, we're not going to have a relationship after a while.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So setting healthy boundaries, and that's a good one. A lot of people don't like to hear that word, but I always say you set boundaries, you're going to find peace. Setting boundaries is just me saying, I'm choosing my peace. I'm not going to put myself on the back burner. I'm not going to do all of these things at my expense. And I'll say this, I heard, growing up, that joy is Jesus first, other second, yourself last. And the older I got, I realized that that's not quite true. It sounds good, and it's a good acronym. It's always real good. But I say, okay, Jesus is always first. There's no denying that. There is no denying that. So I'm not disputing that. But you cannot put yourself last in every situation. Because if you do, by the time it comes to you, there's nothing left of you. If you give to everybody who's pulling on you all the time, when do you have time for you? Where's your pour? Where's your pour? And and then you have a lot of people say, no. We gotta be there for. I'm not saying don't be there for other people. I'm saying not at your own expense. Because remember, you're called to be their support, not their savior. So even in the Bible, for us Christians who don't like to hear the boundaries, Jesus even set boundaries in the Bible. There were times he got tired of healing and delivering and setting free and breaking chains and teaching and preaching and all those things. And he would tell them, y'all go on over to the other side. I'm going up into the mountains to pray or to rest. He had to go and refresh. Why? Because I can't keep pouring into everybody else and not refreshing and pouring into me. So, so you setting those healthy boundaries is definitely a great way to cut some of those cords of bondage and create space for more. When you set healthy boundaries, you create space for more. And so this has been such a great conversation. A lot of people need to hear this. And I want to say, for anyone who's been holding on to cords that are choking your peace, like, today is your permission to cut them. Give yourself permission today to cut those cords. You don't need more time. You don't need their closure. You don't need to prove your pain to anybody. You just need to choose yourself.
There you go.
You need to choose yourself. So, honey, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Also, I just want to close out on my side by saying, in order to cut that cord, you need to understand, why is the cord there in the first place? And not only understand why the cord there in the first place, if it's in a position to where it's robbing your peace, and you find it consistently going against the way you feel, you need to stop and reset and say, look, this is not working. My peace is important.
Wow.
I need
Why
to
is
understand.
the cord there? Why is the cord there?
What caused the cord to be there in the first place? And also, I need to understand that when growth becomes impossible, it causes me to feel stuck.
Oh, wait a minute. Back up. When what? Say that again.
When growth becomes impossible, it causes me to feel stuck.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
Yeah. And so when it seems like I'm not growing, you know what? I'm in a place there that I am feeling stuck. And I need to cut that cord so I can grow.
Wow.
I can move and grow some more.
Wow. And then you gotta make space for what God is trying to send. You gotta make space for what God is trying to send, because God can't feel hands that are still holding on to something that's breaking you.
Correct.
I'm gonna say that again. He cannot feel the hands that are still holding on to what's breaking you. So you gotta cut the cord. You need to cut the cord. So, somebody drop it in the comments. cut the cord. You need to cut it. You got to cut the cord so that you can create the space and, and receive your peace. You got to. I know that it's hard. We're not saying it's going to be easy. We said earlier, letting go is hard. I always say this, it's hard, but it's possible. Because why? With God, all things are possible.
There you go.
So I want to say thank you to my husband, my love of my life. Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of the Empower Experience, cutting cords and creating space. This has been an amazing podcast, and I do believe that people are going to be helped by this. So those of you who are watching, thank you for tuning in. Share this with somebody who needs a reminder that they need to just let it go. And for you who are on here, I want to personally invite you to the Empower Her Experience 2025. Woo-hoo! Right here in Texas. Now, we just had this Empower Her pajama party last weekend. And when I tell you, it was absolutely amazing. I told everyone you don't want to miss it. And I'm telling you that about this Empower Her Experience 2025 right here in Texas. Right here in Texas, in Gilmer, Texas. This is an experience you don't want to miss. This year is going to be amazing. I have so many things lined up during this year's conference that's going to empower you in every single area of your life. This year is going to be amazing. June 27th through the 28th. We start at 7 o'clock on June 27th. We are going to have Capture You by LH is going to be there from 6 to 7 doing professional headshots. So if you need to elevate, if you need to rise, you need to build your brand a little more, then you need a headshot. So come on from 6 to 7 and get your headshot at the Empower Her Experience for only $15. Look, I paid quite a bit of money for these headshots that I have. $15, you can't beat that anywhere. So June 27th, come at 6 o'clock and get your free or your $15 headshot. And then on Saturday morning, we are going to kick off Saturday morning at 9:15. Oh my goodness. I am so excited about this. The She Means Business Build and Brand Breakfast that's sponsored by Starbucks, Rudy's, and Chick-fil-A. And we are going to have the amazing Elizabeth Hooper is going to come, and she's going to equip us with information that's going to empower us to take our businesses and our brands to the next level. So listen, you want to be at the Empower Her Experience. Make it a girls trip, a guys trip. Men, you are welcome. You are That's welcome. Right. There are men there every year, and the men are blessed just as well as the women. So you can come as a couple. You can come as a guy's trip, a girl's trip. Bring your moms, your sisters, your grandmothers, your uncles, your brothers. But come on out to the Empower Experience. There is no registration. It is free 99, okay? It's free 99, no registration. All that you're going to get, you're not going to get that anywhere else for free. So come and be there. And also, don't forget to go to our Empower Her Experience page and click like. We will have just exclusive information on that page concerning the Empower Her Experience and just the Empower Her organization that you want to keep up with. So don't forget to go and click like on our page. And then don't forget to tag us with your comments and your takeaways from the podcast. We love to hear your comments. We love to hear the feedback. So don't forget to do that as well. And so I want to say again, thank you so much, sweetheart, for being on here with me today. I love you. Thank you. This has been great. I've enjoyed our time tonight or this morning. And so until next time, I want to tell everybody, keep protecting your peace. I'll see you next Friday at 9 a.m. Be amazing today and have a great weekend.
Good night, everyone. Good day.